Peymon who?
Matahede.
Peymon Latahede. Who is he?
Never paid taxes in 30 years. Fought the U.S. tax court and won.
See, I believe our rights come from God, not from government.
Hello to my truth and freedom-seeking friends. I am Peymon Matahede, the president of Freedom Law School, which I created in 1996, and for over 30 years, I have not filed and paid any federal income taxes openly, and teaching Americans like you to do the same legally and safely. Our website is freedomlawschool.org. The topic tonight in this presentation is about April 15th coming around the corner. Should you ask for more time to help you investigate and understand the tax laws, the Internal Revenue Code, whether you have to file an income tax or not? That's a big question. A lot of people who have not heard of me hang in there. You'll be very much delighted about the answer you'll see, because I insist that everybody, including the government and you and I, should follow the law as found on U.S. government's official legal websites. That's what I'll show you, and I invite you to take your time to investigate and correctly follow the law, the Internal Revenue Code, the federal tax laws, the U.S. Treasury regulations, the U.S. Supreme Court, even the IRS's tax forms agree with what I'm going to show you. Okay, so now let's look at this chart right now, this article. IRS issues on April 4th this reminder that disaster victims in 12 states have automatic extensions to file and pay their 2024 taxes if they owe any taxes at all, which they oftentimes do not do that, okay? A lot of them get more time till Thursday, May 2025. So the main thing to know is what people in what states they are talking about. The May 1st, 2025 deadline, okay, the extension, they're giving 15 more days to people in the states who are U.S. residents who live in these states, okay? So, of course, the term U.S. has a very interesting, unique definition in tax law, as you'll see, okay? That is in the people in the entire states of Alabama, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, okay? And then some particular parts of Alaska, New Mexico, Tennessee, and Virginia, okay? And there's a little bit more about it available to some unique people. Also, for example, in the Los Angeles fires in California, Los Angeles area, those people get more time. And also, you know, some people in Kentucky and West Virginia also get more time. Also about the events in the Gaza and Israel, that situation in West Bank, they also can get more time about the things going on there if you were affected by those things. So basically, I estimate about maybe 20 to 25% of Americans, you know, that live in the 50 states, you know, can be covered by this probably. Okay, so consider that, because, you know, I know many of you have heard me or others saying, hey, there is no law requiring the people of the 50 United States to file or pay federal income taxes. And I've shown you, and I'll show you again, that the only people by law required to file and pay federal income taxes are citizens and residents of Washington, D.C., not you, the people of the 50 states. So if you've not taken the time to watch the laws from U.S. government's official legal websites, this is your chance to do so you can make a definitive decision that you do not need to file a 1040 form coming up for 2024 by April 15, 2025 or some later time. Okay? So here's what you ought to consider. IRS has a form called Form 4868, Application for Automatic Extension of Time to File U.S. Individual Income Tax Return. Okay, it's a very short form, very short instructions, and the application is right there at the bottom of it. And the application just asks for your information, name and address, SS number, information, and ask you about estimate of your tax liability. You can put 0 or whatever sub number you want. It doesn't matter. Balance due, whatever it may be, because bottom line is this form is not signed by anybody. You or your accountant, CPA, does not have to sign the form, okay? You just send it in. In fact, your cousin, your neighbor can send it for you, practically speaking, because nobody signs for it. So it's harmless, okay? So that's what I suggest, to send this form in if you have not researched the area well enough, and then, take your time to educate yourself about the income tax law, who it applies to. So this is the 1040 income tax form, U.S. individual income tax return form for 2024. As you see, the term U.S. is a critical term here, because U.S. determines who the U.S. individual is, right? So let's go look at the IRS's instructions for the 1040 form, and you'll see that this is actually a District of Columbia, D.C. individual income tax return. That's right. I'll show that to you based upon government's own websites. Now watch. They just deceived you to make believe it was you that got to file income tax when you do not have to file and pay federal income taxes. Here's the IRS's 1040 form instructions as published by IRS at irs.gov. On page 8 about filing requirements, IRS tells us that these rules apply to all U.S. citizens. Again, that's the key term. What does U.S. mean? Regardless of where they live and resident aliens, okay? So I agree with the IRS in 1040 form, but the term U.S. needs to be defined, and it is not what you were deceived to think it is. You see, here's the U.S. Supreme Court case of Hooven and Allison Company versus the VAT Tax Commission of Ohio, 1945, okay? Now, there's 3 different United States you see on this page, and the second one is the one that applies to tax form, even though the other United States is what we usually think about, okay? So here it is. The term United States may be used in any one of several senses. It may be merely the name of a sovereign occupying the position analogous to that of other sovereigns in the family of nations, like United States compared to England, France, Russia, China, Japan, Egypt, that type of thing. The second United States, as you'll see, is what applies to tax laws. It may designate the territory over which the sovereignty of the United States government extends. That's what that is, District of Columbia and or its territories or lands. The federal government is sovereign and king in those limited areas, not in the 50 states or 50 countries of this union, okay? The last United States may be the collective name of the states which are united by and under the Constitution. Again, you're learning for yourself now, perhaps for the first time, many of you, that America is not one country. We are 50 countries in a union. The Constitution created by the states, created a new government called the United States government, and it delegated 18 specific narrow powers to this agent government called the United States, which was given D.C., okay, and in the lands they gave it to for military uses to defend America from England, trying to take the states become colonies of England again. So that's why you see this language here is very important, that what's going on here. The problem is this distinction is not easily noted or understood by Americans. They make you believe the first United States is what they're referring to, everybody in the 50 states. Or the third one, all the 50 states united and its people, but it's the second one that the tax law refers to. Let's go see it for ourselves. Here we are from uscode.house.gov. This website shows you the United States Code, which is a consolidation and codification by subject matter of the general and permanent laws of the United States government. It is prepared by the Office of the Law Revision Council of the United States House of Representatives. That's right, the House of Representatives has the laws published here. This is the official source of the federal laws for the whole earth. Okay? So here they have different categories or titles of federal law. Title 1, general provisions. Title 3, the President. Title 2, Congress. You go down, for example, you see Title 26. Oh, there it is. The Internal Revenue Code, the federal tax laws. You can click on it, and it shows you different, breakdowns. It has all the federal laws you can look up. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to look up the law on definitions. Here is the federal tax laws, the Internal Revenue Code. Okay? The whole thing on paper. These days, you can only find them online. They don't publish the books anymore, okay? And the definitions are not in the beginning as they should be. They hid them in the back. So you would assume the law applies to you when it does not. So I'm going to take you to the definitions to see the law for yourself. So here it is. Everybody knows from Title 26 Internal Revenue Code that here it is, Part 1, tax on individuals, okay, about, income taxes. Everybody knows Section 1 of the code imposes income tax. No question about that. Agreed. But, okay, there is more. The law is not as clear as it could be, so the regulations published by U.S. Treasury Department makes the law more clear for everybody to understand. Here it is, Part 1.1-1 of the Code of Federal Regulations. This is the United States Treasury Department regulations. And they tell you right here in A1, that's Section 1 of the code, the Internal Revenue Code imposes an income tax on the income of every individual who's a citizen or resident of the United States. So if you are a citizen or resident of the United States, you have to pay an income tax. Okay? It's very clear. In fact, you go down further about this issue, you're going to see go down to B, here C, for example. It says, in general, all citizens of the United States, wherever resident, okay, and all resident alien individuals are liable to the income taxes imposed by the code. I agree with that. And who is a citizen? Oh, every person born or naturalized in the United States and subject to its jurisdiction. Here's a hint right here. Its singular jurisdiction is the Washington D.C. government, federal land, not the 50 states. Otherwise, you would say subject to their jurisdiction. If it was the 50 states, it would say there. It's singular. And you'll see it here right now for yourself in just momentarily. Okay, let's go to Title 26, the Internal Revenue Code, under Chapter 79, definitions. And here it says, when used in this title, again, Title 26, the Internal Revenue Code, is what they are referring to. The whole gobbledygook of confusion, tissue think, tiny font, that meant to confuse you and give up and just pay some CPA, tax attorney, accountant to save you from the IRS by the expert filing the tax return for you. But they're ignorant. They're getting paid for keeping you enslaved. Don't listen to them because they do not know the law. I'll show you right now, okay? So here's when it comes to definitions, when used in this title, they define many things that do not even need any definition, like corporation, foreign stock. They even define things like the definition of, withholding agent, husband and wife has a very specific definition because they want to define things as they wish to. Congress can do that. Here it is now, the term United States and state. Let's go look at the term state. State shall be construed to include the District of Columbia. D.C. is not a state. How can they include the District of Columbia in definition of state when it's well known D.C. is not a state? Because Congress can do so if they want to. They can, and they have obviously done so. All right. None of the states are listed, though. None of the 50 states are there. The same way D.C. is deliberately included, also the 50 states are deliberately excluded. And the term United States is the same way. The United States, when used in a geographical sense, includes only the states, which we know is only the District of Columbia, and again the District of Columbia. So you get D.C. plus D.C. What do you get? Same thing. D.C. New York, Florida, California, none of the 50 states are listed. They should list the mute thing, but they are kept out, and only District of Columbia is mentioned. By the way, none of the U.S. territories like Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Guam, or American Samoa are listed either. Only the District of Columbia is listed there. Now I know. You're thinking, well, come on, Peymon. Everybody knows, it's clearly implied that what state in the United States obviously include the 50 states. So they don't have to mention it. Wrong. According to not me, but the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay? Let's go. And this is a unanimous case of the U.S. Supreme Court, okay? Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, Rural Housing Service versus Kurtz. Okay? This just came out, everybody. Okay? This decision came out February 2024. Again, unanimous U.S. Supreme Court says this about definitions like we just saw. When Congress, read the highlighted parts, everybody, when Congress takes the trouble to define the term it uses, a court must respect its definitions as virtually conclusive. That's it. If the definition says that, there is exactly as Congress says it, no more, no less. This court will not deviate from an express statutory definition merely because it varies from the term's ordinary meaning. Look, the ordinary meaning of the term United States usually to most of us means the 50 states united. But that's not what Congress has done. Only listed the District of Columbia. Right? Not me saying it, the U.S. Supreme Court says that. Let's go now to a tax case. Okay? Gould versus Gould is a 1917 unanimous tax case, and this is a conclusion or the holding of the case in the interpretation or understanding of statutes, laws, levying taxes. So in understanding laws that impose taxes, it is the established rule not to extend their provision of tax laws by implication or implying beyond the clear import of the language used, or to enlarge their operations of tax laws so as to embrace or include matters not specifically pointed out. If something is not specifically pointed out, it's not there. Okay? 50 states were not listed as in definition of state or United States. None of them, therefore, they're not there. Only District of Columbia is listed as state United States in the definition of the Internal Revenue Code for the federal tax laws. Now here's one more key warning by the U.S. Supreme Court. In case of doubt, you still have some doubts about what I'm showing you, the tax laws, are construed or interpreted, understood, most strongly against the government's power to tax, and in favor of you, the citizen, not being taxed. Not just against the government, not just strongly against the government, but most strongly against the government. You can't get any stronger than most strongly against the government, can you? Yeah. So any doubt, put it out of your mind, okay? You are not a U.S. citizen for tax purposes. For nationality purposes, I am, Florida is my country. I'm also a U.S. citizen, one of the United States, one of the states' United citizen, and a U.S. national at the same time. And you are a citizen of your respective state, and United States citizen, and a U.S. national, all at the same time. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you one example of how they use the 50 states in definitions right here in the tax laws that will blow you away. But let me again remind you, this definition, United States, is only, and state is only, as you can see for yourself, the District of Columbia. Now contrast this with here, this one. This is also from Title 2060 Internal Revenue Code. Here we have Subchapter A, Tax on Petroleum, and it tells us right here, Section 4612, Definitions and Special Rules. For the purposes of this subchapter, what subchapter? Subchapter A, Tax on Petroleum. They define things that do not even need defining, like crude oil, okay? But here's one for United States. Well, look at that. The term United States means the 50 states. Well, look at that. They specifically listed the 50 states because they can impose oil taxes throughout the 50 states and the District of Columbia. And look at this. A bunch of U.S. territories you probably never heard of are also specifically listed on top of continental shelf areas, even foreign trade zones. There's nothing left to assumption. There's nothing left to implying. It clearly lists the 50 states and the U.S. territories and more because they want to and they can tax oil in all the 50 states. So what does this all mean for you guys in summary? Well, it's pretty simple. This 1040 form, the 1040 U.S. individual income tax that you were deceived to believe applies to you, people of the 50 states, is not a 50 states U.S. individual income tax return. It is, really should be renamed the District of Columbia, D.C. individual income tax return. You see, they kept us ignorant in schools. I went to the public school system. Government schools never taught these basics of the Constitution and law. I should have been taught. Okay? Neither were you. So we gotta shake off this ignorance that they put in our heads since high school and see the law for ourselves, because the truth was hidden in plain sight. Right there, in the middle, in the thick of the law books that you should have known. They say that ignorance of the law is no excuse. You should have looked. We didn't lie to you. They say we told you the truth in the law books. It's your problem. You didn't read the law. It's your problem that you misunderstood the law. You misinterpreted the law. We put the law right there for you to read and apply for yourself. So now we are having the whole nation, whole America, the whole union of 50 states people being waking up to the law and not paying any more money to that corrupt Washington D.C. swamp voluntarily anymore. You've seen how corrupt and out of control the federal government is. They cheated the 2020 election, the vote of the people, and then people protested January 6th. They came after them hard and heavy, bam! They put people in prison, gave them 20-year sentences or more for doing nothing wrong, for simply walking to the U.S. Capitol. They went after Donald Trump, Trump-Russia conspiracy, Ukraine conspiracy, impeached him once, twice. They raided his home with the FBI. They put up some civil cases that went after him, railroaded him, criminal cases, convicted him in New York, indicted him also in the federal courts in D.C., Florida, and Georgia, right? This is how out of control these guys have been. They don't represent you. They represent the big banks and corporations, their own masters that put these crooks in place in the federal government to do their bidding. Okay, they don't work for you like they're supposed to. So why? Tell me why you have any duty to pay these guys any money. You don't. So how do you stop hurting your head from a headache? You stop hitting your head against the wall. You stop signing those 1040 income tax confession trap forms. Now, I gave you a lot of the basics. And bottom line is, I cannot do it for you to be free. You have to choose to be freedom. You choose freedom by keeping your money, not signing those 1040 forms, because that's when you owe the money, when you sign under oath on the 1040 form that you owe the money. That's another topic I will cover later on. Okay, another presentation, I'll cover it before. So what you want to do, people, is go and educate yourself, okay, further on these issues, okay? Excuse me. So really, this 1040 form is a rope that they deceived you to put around your neck. And by doing so, what happens? You sign this 1040 form, you state under oath that you owe the IRS money. That's right. And that's how the IRS gets the power from you to audit you without a tax return. There's nothing to audit. Empty your bank account because you confessed to owe the IRS money. Steal your crypto, steal your property, and even put you in prison, because every time you sign a form, you can go to prison for 9 years for one simple signature that you do under penalties of perjury. Yes, let me show you quickly how serious this problem is. Look at this. This is a 1040 form on page 2. Sign here. Tells your accountant, bookkeeper, CPA, tax attorney that says, trust me, I'm the expert in tax law. Don't listen to those tax protesters. They get you in trouble. Really? Is that right? Did he tell you what you're signing, this Mr. Expert? Oh, let me show you what he had you sign. He had you sign his form with this tiny, small little font you probably never read, that it says under penalties of perjury. Can you read that? Oh, you can't. So what? Guess what? I made it here big for you to read. Under penalties of perjury. So you say, well, what's perjury? That's lying under oath. Same as if before you're a judge and a jury in a court of law. That's right. That's how you sign that form. You swear to it. Okay? And you say, basically in that statement, throw me in prison if everything in this form is not true, correct, and complete. Yep. You make a mistake, go to prison for up to 9 years. And you also say the amount that you owe under oath, you declare this amount to be right there. You told them how much you owe, not the IRS. You claim You owe this amount under penalties of perjury. Oh, your CPA accountant, tax professional, TurboTax, H&M Block, didn't tell you that? You think that was accident? No. If they did, you'd probably think twice. Ooh, I don't know about that signature. That kind of looks a little bit scary to me. You know, well, let me tell you how scary it really is. It's worse than you think. Okay? Here it is. You want to see here it is. You can go to prison for 5 years, okay, for tax evasion. 3 years for filing fraudulent and false statements. 1 year for filing fraudulent return statements or other documents. And the combined, you can go to prison for 9 years for each year that you sign and file a 1040 or any other tax form with the IRS. 9 years. Oh, did your bookkeeper, CPA accountant, or tax attorney went to law school, did he tell you about this stuff? Of course not. Because he makes money off of you by putting the rope around your neck, making you a slave. And then when you get in trouble with the IRS because you claim you owe the IRS money, and he cannot help you because he tricked you into confessing to owe the IRS money, he says, sorry. You know, it's a big bad IRS. Everybody knows they're evil. They have all this power, you know. Sorry, can't help you. Write to Congress about IRS, such an evil entity. Do something about it, you know. Yeah, no, he makes money. Just like the doctors out there were miseducated. And they told you to get the job. Get the corner job to be safe, because I got 12 plus years of post-high school health education. Take the corona vaccine. And people are dying because they take the jab. There's no such thing as COVID at all from China or anywhere at all. It's just a bunch of lies. They did all that propaganda to trick you to take the jab, and people are dying from that. Well, my relatives died of that after taking several jabs. I know several people died of their friends and church members because they took the jab. And people go to prison because they file 1040 income tax confession forms, okay? We're not because they don't file. It's a lie that if you don't file, you go to prison, okay? Look at this guy, this lady. This is former U.S. Tax Court Judge Krupa. She's a judge of the tax court, expert on the law of taxes. But when the IRS came after her, she did not even try to put up a defense and go to trial. Instead, she pled guilty to reduce her sentence to only 34 months. That's right. She was looking to go to prison for about 20 years because she signed those 1040 confession forms. If this judge of tax court, who's one of 31 experts on tax law in America officially, would not defend her 1040 form, how would your bookkeeper, accountant, CPA, or tax attorney do better than her? They can't. But they make money off of you. That's what scam's all about. They all win and you lose, okay? This guy was one of my students. He still is Joe Bannister, former gun-carrying IRS special agent with the Criminal Investigation Division on our Freedom Law School. He quit the IRS in 1999 and exposed the IRS scam in a book he wrote about IRS. And he said, whenever at CID we want to go after somebody, one of the first things that we did as a standard procedure was to request a copy of that person's previously filed tax returns so that we could use the information on those tax returns against them. However, when I wanted to talk to somebody about investigating him, I had to tell him that he had the right to remain silent and give me no information. See, it's the same. It's the same situation. Why give information under oath to the IRS to use against you and put you in prison? Don't do it. Don't put the rope around your neck. People file tax returns. They say, Peymon, I didn't hear about you on time. I filed. Can you get me out of that confession form? Nope. Sorry, I can't do that. I wish I could. So don't follow that form. Ask for an extension to further educate yourself on this issue, understand it better. Then you can decide, hey, maybe Peymon is really right. Okay? And I don't have to be a slave anymore. No more slavery for you, but freedom for you. Look at this chart, okay? This is from the IRS's data book that shows that over 93% of the people that the IRS puts in prison are actually filers. That's right. Okay? This is from different parts of the reports. I put them together so you can see them side by side, so you can see a big picture, okay? So, because I read this stuff regularly. This is for year 2015 on the top right, all the way to 2021 on the top left. Every year, the numbers of people that they came after. And sentence is a highlighted line you see yellow after, 4 lines. In 2015, you see they put 3,092 people in prison for all tax cases, right? But look at the non-filers at the bottom right. Only 167 of people that went to prison, sentence, were non-filers. 2,900 of them. The difference between these two numbers, okay, is filers. Everybody's 3,092, non-filers 167. The difference, 2,900, is all filers. Look at 2018 in the center of the page, okay? 2,111 people went to prison, but only 104 of them were non-filers. Over 2,000, okay, vast majority were all people that filed 1040 income tax forms. And on 2021, 1,268 people went to prison altogether, right? And look at this, bottom left, only 88 were non-filers. Over 1,100 were all filers. So that's why this is so important. I am suggesting strongly to you to hold up, don't sign a 1040 form, ask for an extension if you have to. It's harmless, okay? And investigate this issue. Go to our website, freedomlawschool.org, and educate yourself about all of this in more detail for yourself, because I cannot convince you. You must convince yourself of the truth. Right? Everything I showed you was their own forms. IRS own the laws, right? So go to our website, freedomlawschool.org, and step 1, follow the law. Watch his videos here, and then step 2, okay? These are short videos at the beginning, and then longer, complete ones below them. Step 2, why you should stop filing tax returns. Step 3, you don't have to be afraid of the IRS. IRS is operating on bluff. That's right. They're operating on bluffing you, Dorothy of Wizard of Oz, and your friends. They are the Wizard of Oz, along with the media that make up the IRS to be this powerful thing that says, be afraid. No need to be afraid of them. I'm not. I'm free. So can you. Okay? So then you go part 4. We've been in the IRS. None of my students have gone to prison. None of them who came to McLean ever gone to prison. Myself either. Or IRS has not taken the home bank account or paycheck or property. Okay? So really IRS is a myth if you stop filing those 1040 confession forms against yourself. And then step 5, you should question authority. Write your lawmakers. If they show you the law that requires you to file income tax, pay them. Pay them. But if they don't show you the law with our petitions that spell out the law like you just saw, don't pay them. Because you don't owe it in the first place, and you will not go to tax prison. Watch the videos on this topic in more detail. And step 6 is optional. Okay? If you're like these gentlemen, love America, love truth, love freedom, and believe we need to do something about it, and want to do something about loss of our freedoms, and want to get us back to freedom, then this program's for you, because at the same time we'll keep you free while we work together, have America be a free country once again. It's called the Restore Freedom Plan to join. And with this, we will give you 100% guarantee you will not go to prison. IRS will not take any of your money. IRS will reimburse you whatever the IRS takes from you. All the work is done. We pay the attorneys. All the work is done for you, okay? And step 7, people, let's love and spread the truth. Be a modern-day Paul Revere and share our website, freedomlawschool.org. That 10-minute video on step 1 on the law. Share it with everybody you love. Your spouse, children, parents, siblings, friends, co-workers. Tell them about us. This is how we're going to get America back, by us opening our mouths and talking to people. And don't be dissuaded by the people who roll their eyes, they get afraid, they call you conspiracy theorists, they tell you, oh, yeah, go do that, you're going to go to jail. Let them say that. They live in fear and ignorance. You live in truth, knowledge, and love, and freedom. So keep putting out the seeds. Text them our videos. Okay? Give them our brochures. We send the brochures for free. Yes. Like right here. These brochures, we'll mail them to you for free. Freedom Law School's brochures, Restore Freedom, that educates people that 99% of Americans are not required to file and pay income or pay all taxes, and will pay you. We'd love to pay you for telling other people about us. So contact Freedom Law School, and our phone number is on our website. You can call anytime, 9 to 6 Eastern Time Zone weekdays, 813-444-4800. So with that, I'm giving you all my knowledge, all my love. I invite you to love yourself enough to take the time as you drive to and from work, put our videos up, listen to them as you watch the road, when you get to work at lunch, or when you get home for dinner, then put up the video again and watch and verify that everything you've seen, the liberating truth, is on U.S. government's official legal websites, okay, forms and reports. We rely on the law as it's written. So with that, thank you for giving me your time, and I wish you all plenty of love, truth, wisdom, prosperity, and freedom.